We have fresh Epstein updates. And before I get into any of it, I just want you to watch this. Just start this video. I want you guys to start the video and let it run before I say anything else, because what happens in this clip is more important than anything I could frame around it.
And if the Attorney General is covering this up in such a degree that she is redacting things from Congress, that she then, redacting things from the public that she then shows to Congress, what else is she covering up?
That is Representative Dan Goldman, Democrat from New York, a former federal prosecutor who prosecuted the first Trump impeachment, standing on the floor of the House of Representatives, holding up a physical document and saying out loud that Pam Bondi lied under oath to Congress about the Epstein files. He said she lied under oath, not alleged that she lied. And then he read a damning document into the congressional record. And this thing has as many layers as an ogre. I mean, the first layer, Bondi testifying under oath before the House Judiciary Committee that, quote, there is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. Goldman disproved that on the House floor with documents in hand. That is a lie, because there is credible evidence, and he had it in his hand. It's there in the 3 million pages that the DOJ has already disclosed. The FBI found evidence, and credible enough evidence, to include it in a 21-page PowerPoint presentation that they made to give to prosecutors. If the FBI didn't find any of this document credible, it doesn't go into a PowerPoint. The second layer, the document that we're talking about, the one that Goldman held up on the floor, it was redacted to the public. It was unredacted to Congress, which means right now there are two versions of reality running simultaneously. What is said to the American people in public, and what Congress has been shown, and what has to be testified to under oath. And Goldman decided to use his congressional immunity. It's the speech or debate clause of the Constitution. It protects members of Congress for anything said on the floor, so that he could collapse the gap between what we hear and what actually happened in reality in real time, on camera. And what does this unredacted document say? And I can't say all of it, but Goldman read it into the record, and it disputes, in his words, everything that Donald Trump has said about Jeffrey Epstein, about what Trump knew, about whether he'd visited Epstein's properties, about whether he had any awareness of what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. The document reportedly showing Trump saying about a visit to the Epstein home that he may have been there with his wife, and that Epstein, quote, may have had children of guests, end quote. Goldman on the House floor, we know that's not the case. Layer 3, Goldman also laid out the full arc of Trump's Epstein relationship as documented in the files. This timeline is now in the congressional record. 2002, Trump calling Epstein a terrific guy, and said publicly that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. 2003, Trump wrote the disgusting birthday card to Epstein for his 50th birthday. Goldman read that out loud. You know, the one where Trump wrote that they have certain things in common, calling Epstein an enigma who's never aged, and then signed off, quote, may every day be another wonderful secret, end quote. Same year, Palm Beach County opening an investigation into Epstein. That investigation became public in 2006. Trump called the Palm Beach police chief directly after an investigation went public and told him, this is what Goldman read into the record, quote, thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this. So Goldman posed a question. What innocent person calls a police chief about a trafficking investigation the moment that they find out about it? If you knew nothing and did nothing wrong, why are you preemptively calling the police chief? And then this last layer, the Epstein email, now in a public record, where Epstein wrote to Ghislaine Maxwell that, quote, the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. A redacted victim's name, spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Epstein is describing Trump as someone who has benefited from silence. Trump has also said in public that he's never gone on Epstein's plane. And of course, we know from the Southern District of New York that he was on Epstein's plane at least 8 times, often with young women present. That's in the federal record. And now the most important piece of this, the victim account, which Goldman read carefully, and because it's very serious and specific, it deserves to be heard clearly. And I encourage all of you to go watch this. The victim gave 4 interviews to the FBI. The DOJ initially tried to hide 3 of them. But because of media pressure and congressional pressure, it was finally disclosed. This victim was credible enough for a 21-page FBI PowerPoint. Her account was consistent across multiple interviews, describing being left alone with Trump when she was between the ages of 13 and 15. And the details of what happened in those meetings are in the congressional record, and they are deeply disturbing. And yet you have Pam Bondi, who's yelling about the Dow Jones, telling Congress under oath that there is no evidence of a crime. Thankfully, there are people like Goldman saying that it's a lie. Now, I have to give my typical disclaimer here about the Epstein files. Trump hasn't been charged with the crime. He denies all of it. The White House has called these allegations totally baseless. And Trump has, of course, said that the Epstein files have made him totally exonerated. But then compare that to what Goldman's saying and what the documents themselves say. Bondi said there's no evidence of a crime. And that is not consistent, not at all, with what the documents show, what the FBI showed, and what they found credible. Credible enough to put into a 21-page PowerPoint. And there is a difference between not being charged and not having evidence. In both a legal and a factual way, those are completely different terms. No charge, no evidence, completely different. Bondi said there is no evidence. And Goldman showed that that is absolutely false. And he said it on the House floor with the document in hand, and it is in the congressional record where it'll live forever. Meanwhile, we still don't have all the Epstein files. The document that Goldman displayed, it was unredacted to Congress, but not to us. And that tells you exactly what this administration believes is in the other documents that they haven't released. They know what's in there, and they know exactly what would happen if those documents came out. And Pam Bondi and her DOJ are the ones that are holding the door shut. Fortunately, she just got subpoenaed. And the subpoena, it does have a shelf life. But the document that Goldman held up today does not. And Goldman's not the only one who apparently decided that the official channels weren't cutting it. Earlier in the week, it was also reported that Epstein Zora Ranch, the 7,600-acre spot in New Mexico that was purchased by Epstein in the 90s, and it was alleged to be the burial site of, quote, 2 foreign girls, per an FBI tip that was made public, was broken into by a private citizen who has collected what he believed was evidence, and he's handed it directly to Democratic state lawmakers in New Mexico. He didn't hand this over to the FBI. He handed it to state lawmakers. And why not the FBI? Well, it might be because the FBI issued a documented stand-down order to NYPD investigators 5 days after Epstein died in 2019. Maybe because the lead DOJ official currently overseeing the Epstein investigation, Jay Clayton, a Trump appointee, he's been accused of financial conflicts of interest tied to entities connected to Epstein's financial network. And maybe because the Attorney General of the United States just got subpoenaed for lying to Congress about the files. When every single official channel is that visibly compromised, a private citizen grabbing a flashlight and heading out into a ranch in New Mexico starts to make a whole lot of sense. And that's what it's going to take. A congressman on the House floor with a document, a private citizen at a ranch in the dark, both of them doing the work that the people in charge of our country have decided not to do. And that's where we are. I mean, to me, this is one of the most important Epstein developments since the files first came out. A sitting congressman, a former prosecutor, on the floor of the House with an unredacted document, calling the Attorney General of the United States a liar under oath. That's in the record now. And a private citizen taking matters into his own hands. And you know that the mainstream media, they're going to try to bury all of this. Don't let them. And do me a favor, if you share one video today, share this one, like it, comment, subscribe, because what Goldman just did on that House floor and what that private citizen has done out in New Mexico is exactly the kind of accountability that we need more of. And it's the only way we can get the word out is through independent media. And you can help amplify that story. Doesn't it seem like our feeds are getting filled with more and more BS right-wing MAGA content? It's no secret that all these top tech bros are in love with the current regime, so it's no surprise that independent left-leaning media is being squashed by the algorithm. If you like our content and content like us, it doesn't take long to click that thumbs up, share, comment, or subscribe. So please help us keep the truth alive.